Funerals actually take a lot more planning than I expected. With us using island cuisine for the first time, of course we were iffy, but once they came and showed us their service, their food, we tasted their food and everything, we definitely use them again because their service and food is just awesome.
I'll ride with the horses, I'll swim through the sea, I'll climb to the mountain tops, won't you come follow me? I'll take time to notice all that I see, and after I've come so far, you know where I'll be. I'll fly away, fly away, fly away, fly away home. I'll fly away, fly away, fly away, fly away home. But life is a vision, that's how it should be. The world is a canvas, and the choices are free. At the end of the journey, where all is complete, they'll all wonder where I've gone, but you know where I'll be. I'll fly away, fly away, fly away, fly away home. I'll fly away, fly away, fly away, fly away home. Our dreams last forever, for all that we know. The roads come together, and that's where we'll go.
The Pampas
and elite wish we go away.
because we are
real and direct.
no interest owns us.
And we have no interest but
The truth.
Together we are exposing
corruption.
Together we will reform criminal justice.
Together,
We are fighting violence
Against women and children.
We here at
Kandit
will shine the light.
on every corner of darkness.
Together, we are giving a voice
to the voiceless.
And forgotten.
Stay lit.
Together.
Together,
Together.
together,
Together, we are giving a voice to the voiceless and forgotten.
We are Kandit News Group.
Buenas Marianas in Micronesia. I'm Troy Torres.
And I'm Johnny Rosario.
Welcome to our July 2nd, Thursday edition of Candid News. In the morning, it's late morning, but it's still the morning. Are we working tomorrow? Because tomorrow is a government holiday, right? Mm-hmm. I think we're working.
We are.
Because there's going to be news, right? Unless there's no news, interesting news then. Well, anyway, let's start out with the weather and we'll go into the weekend on this. For today in Guam, Rota, Tinian, and Saipan, partly sunny for Guam and Rota, partly cloudy for Tinian and Saipan. Isolated showers, highs around 80. Oh gosh, it got hot again. Highs around 89. Tonight through Friday night, partly cloudy with isolated showers, so it'll be kind of clear. The lows around 79. For Saturday, Independence Day, partly sunny, so it's going to be hot on Independence Day. You can go and have your barbecues and whatever. There's going to be fireworks, right? Is it
Down,
Big Navy
I think down
or
south, yeah. Not
Robert Polaris Point?
Somewhere down there.
Robert Hoffman has
said,
something?
Yeah, he said they're not. They need to really watch what they're spending because of the people. People are suffering.
Okay.
So yeah.
Well, they couldn't use the fireworks from Government House. Oh, that's right. They used it for a party for themselves.
Yes, for that. Remember?
The pat on the back. That's right. You know what? Let's interrupt weather for a second.
We need some kind of upbeat something, Troy.
Let's just interrupt the weather for a second and ask.
I just know how
ask
to
someone
dig
about this.
that in there.
Hi, is this the office of the governor? Yes. Hi, would there be fireworks this 4th of July weekend?
Hold on, please.
Thank you.
Thank you, Prima. Oh, Mark Uggan says Agate is going to hold the Independence fireworks. Can I have one?
You have a mailbox on this system.
Oh, yeah. They would send you to a mailbox, Cello.
Okay.
You know, Ray
I know almost all the numbers out of it.
Ray Gibson he said, why don't us as a community have a drive?
Hi, would there be fireworks this weekend? Sponsored by the government of Guam? Thank you.
Governor Chambers, this is Shamra. How may I help you?
Hi, Shamra. Will there be fireworks this weekend?
I have not been made aware of that, but if I get your name and contact number, I can verify and give you a call back.
Sure, my name is Troy Torres. Yeah, with Candid News. Yeah, 456.
Okay.
4237.
456-4237.
Yeah.
All right, Mr. Torres, I will return your call.
Yeah, and also could you find out, because I doubt you guys are going to call me back, but could you just find out, just for the sake of argument,
I'm sorry?
Could you just find out whether all the fireworks that were used for the Government House party have already been, whether that's all of it or if there's any more left?
Okay, I will give you a call back.
Thank you, Shamra.
You're welcome. You have a good day.
You too. Bye.
Okay, bye-bye.
They're not going to call back. So, and then for the rest of the weekend, Saturday night and Sunday, it'll get, that's not Corona, that's empanada. Stuck in my throat. Mostly cloudy, isolated showers and thunderstorms, lows in the upper 70s, highs in the upper 80s. I hope it's getting like colder around that time because it is freaking hot. Now for the rest of Micronesia, in Palau today, mostly cloudy with scattered showers and isolated thunderstorms, so it's going to rain a little bit tonight. Mostly, same thing, mostly cloudy with scattered showers and isolated thunderstorms. In Yap, same thing today, same thing tonight. In Chuk, partly cloudy with isolated showers, so it's going to be a clear day there. And tonight, partly cloudy with isolated showers. In, what is this? Oh. In Pohnpei, partly cloudy with isolated showers, and the same tonight. In Kosrae, cloudy, scattered showers becoming isolated in the afternoon. So I guess it's raining right now in Kosrae. Isolated thunderstorms tonight, mostly cloudy with isolated showers. and thunderstorms. And in Majuro and the Marshall Islands, today, mostly cloudy with isolated showers and mostly cloudy with scattered showers and isolated thunderstorms. And tonight, same, mostly cloudy, isolated showers and thunderstorms. And for the 7-day forecast for Guam, pardon me.
Drink, Cello.
I'm so sorry.
Drink.
The governor's office is trying to kill me with my empanada.
Everybody wants empanada now.
You can get it at 76. It comes crispy and hot, and it stays crispy. And it's if you're not into pica, but you like
Empanada.
the kick of a little bit of spice, it's perfect. I'm like, my boyfriend, no, he doesn't like spicy stuff.
He'll eat that.
He'll be able to eat this. He'll think it's spicy, but
And
he'll be able to eat
And
it.
he'll eat anything I cook too.
That's correct.
I'm still mad at him. I want to beat him up this weekend.
All right. Yesterday, Johnny read you part of a magistrate's report about a man named Chris Teo, and we made fun with his name because it's like T-O. And if any of you are druggies or former druggies, you will understand the joke. But he's 26 years old, and yesterday, prosecutor Renaides Nicholas sought charges against him, serious charges: family violence as a third-degree felony, strangulation as a third-degree felony, interfering with the reporting of family violence as a third-degree felony, family violence as a misdemeanor, and unlawful restraint as a misdemeanor. Now, I'm going to read you the magistrate's report, and then I'm going to talk to you about a conversation that I had this morning with the victim, or the alleged victim in this, who tells a different story. So it says, this is the magistrate's report prepared by prosecutor on or about March 15 this year at approximately 4:30 p.m. Officer Philip Blas met with a woman, the victim, in Mighty regarding an assault complaint. The victim was crying and unable to speak clearly. The interview was later moved to the Tumon precinct. Victim stated that her ex-boyfriend, Chris Ray Teo, had an argument that became physical. Victim and defendant were hanging out and drinking beer at the Teton softball field with defendant's friends. Victim wanted to leave and check on her kids. Victim and defendant's relative then got into the victim's car and were about to leave the location. Defendant became angered, opened the passenger door, and grabbed the car keys from the victim's hand. At that point, when you were talking about this yesterday, that's when I was like, wait a minute, that's full of whatever, right? Victim told him to stop and that she would call the police. Defendant replied, go ahead and call the police. They can't do shiz. She said something else. I'll just get out in a few days. Defendant then grabbed victim by her neck and squeezed the neck for approximately 10 seconds, all the while demanding her phone. When defendant reached over to grab her neck, defendant damaged the rearview mirror. While defendant was choking victim, defendant threw her phone outside the vehicle, and defendant retrieved her cell phone. Victim and the witness had to wait in the car with the windows closed and the vehicle not running until defendant was ready to leave, which was approximately 40 minutes. When defendant was ready to leave, victim told defendant that he shouldn't drive because he was drunk. Defendant became angered and responded, just wait until we get home. Victim was in fear for her safety, so she did as defendant asked and moved to the passenger seat. While at an intersection, victim attempted to exit the vehicle, and defendant grabbed victim by her blouse, pulled her back in, and sped away. Defendant then squeezed both of her hands together with his right hand, not allowing her to move. Defendant then drove to Crown Bakery in Barragata and told her to stop or else. Defendant continued driving toward a residential street near the bakery, and when they were at a stop, victim was able to get out of the car and started screaming, please call the police. A resident saw her and called for assistance. Defendant stopped the vehicle, stepped outside the vehicle, grabbed victim, and pulled her back into the car. They remained in the vehicle until they heard sirens. Defendant immediately exited the vehicle and fled on foot in an unknown direction. This is all on March 15, okay? Officer Blas observed that victim had the following injuries: bruising and redness around her neck, redness and bruising around her wrist, and a scratch on her forearm. Victim indicated that defendant had physically abused her before and that defendant had choked her on a previous occasion. Defendant was later arrested on June 30. That is, what is that? April, May, June. 3 months and 15 days later. Defendant admitted that he and victim had argued on March 15, but did not recall the events that took place after the argument. Based on the foregoing, there is probable cause to charge Chris Teo with et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So now I talked to the victim this morning because she reached out yesterday, and she said that from what she heard last night on our show, police or I don't know, police or prosecutor, whoever, did not get the story correct. Now, there may be a tendency to automatically believe that the victim is just covering for the perp in a toxic relationship.
Right.
In this case, I don't think that's necessarily the case. In this case, she said, yes, he did commit some crimes against me. Yes, I'm not disputing that. Yes, he's a dick. Yes, he should spend some time in jail, but he shouldn't be charged with the things that he's being charged with, because what she's saying is that this report is erroneous in certain areas. And when she was explaining it to me, I told her, I said, you need to go see the prosecutor and let the prosecutor know. So what she said is that this part where he said, okay, so one of the things is that they were at the Teton softball field. It wasn't with defendant's friends, it was with his coworkers. I guess the coworkers have a softball league or a baseball league or whatever it is, right? I didn't know that men played softball.
Yeah.
They do? Oh.
It's a fun sport.
Oh, is it an LGBTQ league?
No.
Oh,
It's
okay.
like companies that get together, like
I'm
basketball.
just talking.
I know you are.
Yeah, because I don't even play any sports. So it was one of those like company leagues, and she was there, and she did want to leave, and the argument they were having was over her leaving. And she said, they argue all the time. They're one of those couples that they argue all the time. Okay? And he didn't want her to leave. And she said that he had 2 swigs of his Heineken. So yes, he was drinking, per se. She said 2 swigs. And I don't know if this is a Ray Tenorio 2 swigs or if it's a real 2 swigs of the Heineken that she saw. But she said that he was not drunk. But she also didn't want him to drive because he had already had 2 swigs of alcohol. And she just doesn't want any trouble. And so he didn't want her to leave, so they got into an argument, and she admits that he did lunge for the keys because he was in the passenger side, she was on the driver's side, she was wearing a tank top. When he lunged, this is what she said, okay? When he lunged, her phone was right here. Her phone flew out because he lunged at her pretty hard, and she doesn't dispute that. He said that, or she said that, yes, his one of his hands landed on her neck, and his other hand landed somewhere else. I don't remember. They basically had like an altercation, but he did not. It wasn't like he went and he strangled her neck like that, according to her. And so the notion or the report by the prosecutor, which makes it look like, or they are charging him with strangulation as a 3rd-degree felony, that is erroneous. She admits that what he did was a crime, and it was a crime against her, and that it was family violence. But what she's saying is that it's not as bad as this report makes it out to be, that the cell phone wasn't thrown out the window by him, it fell out the window, that the witness is a relative of the perp, and that this witness knows the truth of what happened, that when they were driving around and she jumped out of the car, or tried to jump out of the car, he pulled her back in. He held both of her hands and told her to stop, or else. She doesn't dispute any of that. She doesn't dispute that she wanted at that point, she felt that her safety was in danger at that point, and that she did want the police to come. And then she said that the police didn't come at this point. What happened, once he got out of the car, he left to go back to the Teason softball field because their argument had ended or whatever. And then she went to the Dededo precinct to file a complaint. Then the people at the Dededo precinct moved her to the Tumon-Timuning precinct. So I asked her, well, why did you file the complaint if you didn't feel...
What does her complaint say? Because she has to write it out in her own words.
I don't... They're not going to give us her complaint.
Yeah, you have access
The
to
police
that.
department
Yes.
will give us her
If we go there,
written complaint?
Yes. We just need the criminal case number on the.
If it's still under investigation?
Yes,
Okay.
we have access, and the reason why I know that is because of the criminal complaint I filed against Selena Martinez. I just need to go down there. Anybody can go down there and get what
Anyone can go and get your
Anybody.
complaint against
Yes.
Selena?
Yes.
Oh.
It's public documents.
No kidding.
Yes.
Okay. So, she was interviewed. She said that it's at this point where they were in the car and they were arguing really bad, and she tried to jump out of the car and he pulls her back in. That's when she really did feel that her safety was in danger, and she was very mad. And she said that the thing that she was most upset about was that he was trying to drive her car. That was what she was most upset about. And so that's why she went and she filed the police complaint, but it's also because she didn't want to see him at her house, because she knew that at some point he was going to be drunk after drinking with his coworkers at the softball field, and she didn't want to have to deal with that. So they were broken up for a couple of weeks after this March 15 incident, according to her. Then they got back together. And she thought that because a couple of weeks had passed, the police hadn't searched for him or anything. They knew where he was. He was back at her house and whatever. She didn't think that anything was happening. So what happened yesterday was they had another argument, and it was because her daughter, who she doesn't have custody of, came over for one of the first visitations in a while, and she wanted him to not be there because very likely they'll get into an argument, and she didn't want her daughter to see them arguing, so she told him to leave. It's her house. She told him to leave. He didn't want to leave. I guess he was being a baby about it, so she called the police. She was like, can you just get him out of my house, because
what's her purpose?
He's not leaving my house. And so when they come and they arrest him because they've been looking for him, they say, since March 15, because she filed this police complaint on March 15. And yeah, she just wanted that part of, she wanted her side of the story.
He does lunge at her. Okay.
She does not dispute that.
Okay.
She doesn't dispute she does not dispute that. What she disputes are the details of the case and the insinuations made in the case. The insinuation that it was worse than how she felt it was.
Okay, and then the mere fact that he won't leave when she wants some time with her daughter.
Yes.
Is
and she doesn't dispute that, and she thinks he's a dick.
So what? I don't.
She doesn't.
Well, when you report because you're angry, the ball starts rolling.
Look at the charges, though. Those are hefty charges.
So let it go to court then.
Family violence is a third-degree felony. Strangulation as a third-degree felony.
Right?
Interfering with the reporting of family violence as a third-degree felony. And she doesn't dispute family violence as a misdemeanor. She doesn't dispute unlawful restraint as a misdemeanor. She said that he is a dick about those things and he did those things. She just doesn't think he should go to jail for 20 years for it. So what she's tried, I told her to go call the Attorney General's office.
Yeah, well, she can take the witness stand, and let the jury know that he's only half of what they say there.
Yeah.
So
at the end of the day, I think that's what she's saying, is that he's half of what this magistrate's report says. Now, I've gotten a couple of other phone calls because we've done quite a few of these family violence magistrate reports, and I've gotten a couple of phone calls from the victims. Mm-hmm. Who and I have long conversations with them, and at the end of the conversation I ask, I go through the magistrate's report and I ask line by line, is this what you told the police? Is this what happened? Et cetera, et cetera. And except for this case, in the other cases, when I start asking those questions and then they start answering, when they don't answer with a direct answer, and they say, well, now it's like this and now it's like that. Then it occurs to me that is that's a sad situation.
A toxic relationship.
That's a sad situation, But this woman thinks that he deserves to spend some time in jail. This woman thinks that he needs to
The
change.
charge that's bad there is a strangulation charge,
yes.
and that's why it's
It's a
bumped up.
strangulation. Yeah. And that's probably the part
And the
that led to
reason
the
why-
third degree family
Right.
violence. Yeah.
So the mark on her neck,
Oh, yeah. The marks on her neck
don't tell me.
are not. Yeah. But just don't
tell
say
me.
it. Don't say it because she's embarrassed. But yeah.
Don't tell me.
It is. Yeah. That's what the marks on the neck are. But she's very embarrassed about that.
I just hope. Can I just say this? I've never been a victim of family violence. I'm the aggressor. Okay. And I just hope and pray. I want families to stay together because of the kids. You know, my whole life I've jumped out of relationships because I feel like
She wanted her family to leave because of her kid.
I know. But I just hope and pray. Well, I hope they get sorted out. I know you gave her to the right people to sort this out.
Yes.
So
Well, Debbie Cananton says a classic domestic case. Kurt Cabrera says from the chat mat. James Howard says once it turns violent, it usually doesn't end well. One of the things that I asked her was, did you beat him up too? And she wouldn't answer my question.
Because me, I'm like, Troy, he hit me. You're like, where? You're lying.
All right. Let's get. Can you read this?
Yes.
This one, and we're gonna get Charlie on the phone.
Okay. For immediate release, this is some good news. APL has recently announced a reduction in fuel adjustment factor, FAF, into Guam and Saipan by 17% effective July 1st. This reduction also applies to export containers from Guam and Saipan to the U.S. APL Guam General Manager Charlie Hermosa stated, APL continues to evaluate the fuel index and therefore will be making an adjustment that will greatly assist the business community with much needed cost relief in these challenging times. He added further, our commitment to the community is that we will consistently evaluate the fuel market and make any necessary adjustments. Reefer containers in and out of Guam and Saipan to the U.S. are also included in the reduction and will be at 14%, which means it should affect our prices for groceries, right?
Not necessarily. That's up to the distributors here and the grocery retailers.
There should be a law.
Hey, Troy.
Hi, Charlie. It's Johnny and Troy and Kandit Land.
Hi, Charlie.
Hey, Johnny, how are you?
I'm great.
Happy birthday.
Oh, happy birthday.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Hey, thanks for taking our call. Johnny just read the release to the release put out by APL Guam and Saipan to our viewers. Can you explain to us what this is and how this is in addition to other reductions that you guys have been making since the start of this pandemic? Actually, even before the pandemic.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So, thank you for actually taking the time to look at the release. But one of the things that we made clear with the local community, with the business community, was that we would continuously look at any ways to be able to look at costs, predominantly the fuel side, and we look at the fuel costs on a quarterly level.
Okay.
And even though I think even though on the shipping side we're all having a tough time. I think we're all feeling the effects of the economy and so forth. But we thought it was the right thing to do to continually to look at the fuel, and because the fuel index has gone down, we took the action to reduce it even further, the fuel surcharge. So customers that are shipping with APL will see that change. We'll see that savings or the differential starting 1 July, which was yesterday.
Okay.
So we thought it was again, on a quarterly basis, we look at this and, we make the decision on whether it's positive or negative as far as the change.
Charlie, can you tell us about what is this? What does this price reduction mean for like a 40-foot container?
Yeah, so I think when you look at the overall cost, it could range, between an additional, as you mentioned earlier, it's an additional savings to the earlier fuel decrease. So you're probably looking at closer to $300, $400, $500 savings across the board.
Okay. And then Johnny had a question right before you got on the phone, and it was, does this mean that we'll see price reductions on our groceries? And I was saying, that really all depends on whether distributors and retailers decide to cut their prices as well. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, no, you know what? I think we really do have to. The distributors have really done a really good job keeping the goods flowing, Troy. Honestly, because even my parents that were out here, they were out here for 3 months. They were here during the prime of the COVID epidemic. But when they went back to New York, just 2 weeks ago, they were telling me that their supermarkets are bare. Like, they were like, we were able to find everything when we were in Guam. We had, meat products, poultry, canned foods. Not great selections, but we still had it. Like back in the States, they were like, the meat market's completely empty. Like, there's no meat, there's no chicken.
Oh, wow.
And so we really do have to give credit to the distributors that they have been able to continuously get the flow. I think that a lot of the savings, whenever you look at the bottom line for the way they calculate, they're definitely trying to keep as many people on board and employed. Number two, they're able to get the goods that they can, because as you can imagine, the distributors back on the mainland have also raised their price.
Mm-hmm.
But for the most part, from what I've seen sort of an even keel on the prices, because we were expecting a surge in price in meat, and that didn't really happen. I think that we were able to keep the prices down. So I think it kind of plays into the overall economics of the way they look at it, and hopefully they'll be able to continue to get the goods that we need at a good fair price, continue to employ their employees. And then the other one that I heard the other day was the fact that having a very economical way to bring the products into Guam has allowed them to reach out and get other products that were not available before because of the transportation cost. So again, it kind of plays into the whole economics of getting goods into Guam.
Can you tell your customers if they can bring back pink Skittles? They're called dessert Skittles.
Absolutely.
Thanks.
Absolutely.
Thank you for your time, Charlie. Is there anything you wanted to add?
No. Again, we thanks Troy for this opportunity, and Johnny, we stand committed to the community here on Guam and Saipan. You can count on me. Whatever I can do to find ways to make things a lot more economical for folks to bring in the products, we will. We're in this thing for the community, and we're going to be here for the long run. So I really do appreciate the time.
Cool. Thank you. Thanks for taking the call.
Happy birthday.
Thanks, Johnny.
Happy birthday.
Thank you, Troy. Thank you, Johnny.
Okay. Bye.
Thanks. Bye.
That's Charlie Hermosa,
You
who's
guys
the
are birthday
president of
brothers.
APL Guam. Yeah, we're both cancers. Yeah. Derek Hinata called me earlier today to wish me happy birthday, and I was like, what kind of brother are you? It's not even my birthday.
I was gonna say the same thing, but
He was, when's your birthday? I was like, well, I know that your birthday is on March 27. I called you and you didn't answer your
at
phone.
least you got the month correct.
All right. So, good news from APL. Prices are going down. Whether that translates to a price reduction on the shelves, I think what Charlie was trying to tell us in a roundabout way is that's probably not going to happen because of the impact that COVID-19 has had
It
on
makes sense.
retailers and distributors
It
already.
makes sense. And the people, remember when we order something and it's being shipped in, it's from before, right?
Yeah.
So we probably got those at that price. You
Yeah.
get what okay, it makes sense.
We
What?
forgot to ask him about toilet tissue.
No, there's toilet tissue everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got this.
I know, but I just love that.
Yeah.
I wasn't one of those toilet tissue hoarders. Did you hoard toilet tissue?
Wait, Troy. There is some breaking news out of the congressman's office.
Oh yeah, go for it
talking
because
about,
our next story is about the congressman. So yeah, go for it.
Okay. Where did? Oh, there we go. Breaking news: Congress extends Paycheck Protection Program (PPP) deadline to August 8, 2020. With the PPP originally expiring June 30, the Congress has extended the time available for applicants to qualify for over $100 billion in remaining PPP funds to August 8th. Quote, "We encourage financial institutions to continue processing any pending applications and to consider accepting new applicants and reapplicants so that we may continue to keep businesses open and employees working with the PPP program made available by the Congress." Congressman Nicholas.
So that was the latest out of Congressman Nicholas. But earlier this morning, he released news that Congresswoman Maxine Waters, who is the chairwoman of the powerful House Financial Services Committee, joined Congressman Nicholas, who is her vice chairman on the committee, in pushing Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell to extend the Municipal Liquidities Fund to Guam and the territories. Now, the reason that's important is because it's basically a bond market between the federal government is the bond seller, and the local government of the state or the territory or the city or whatever is the buyer, and it's a super low interest. So basically, it's we win at the end of it. So one of the things that a bond instrument could be used for, since it is at an interest rate that would be lower than the interest that the local government is paying to taxpayers right now on late tax refunds, is, and this is an idea, right? Is take this municipal liquidity fund to pay for tax refunds now, because it's already, the government of Guam has not been this late in the payment of tax refunds since 2011. And the people just need their tax refunds. So it's pay the tax refunds, and over this period of time, and it's not like a 30-year thing either, it's you pay it back, and you don't pay as much interest as you would when you pay the interest to the people, because the interest rate is high. It's like 9 to 11%. And it's compounding interest as well on the local government side. So
I need to take a math class.
Oh, me too. So Congressman Nicholas is fighting for, actually let's watch where he went head to head with the chairman of the Federal Reserve at a House Financial Services Committee hearing. Go ahead, Cello, and play that.
I finished mine.
The Guam war claims, sponsored by Mr. San Nicolas of Guam, will be considered as read and open to amendment at any point. Let me recognize the sponsor of the legislation, Mr. San Nicolas, for comments on his legislation. Sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would like to begin by thanking the Committee Vice Chair of Insular Affairs, Congressman Sablan, for enabling this markup hearing, as this is an insular issue. I would like to thank you, Mr. Chair, and the full committee for bringing 1365 to markup today as a technical correction for a time-sensitive matter. I would like to thank my colleagues on the committee for their support and openness in taking our meetings, receiving our calls, and answering their questions on the issue at hand. I would like to thank my predecessors for their work that laid much groundwork over many years to bring us to this inflection point today. I would like to thank my local leadership counterparts in my district, particularly Speaker Barnes for her letters of support, as well as the Republican Party of Guam for endorsing the passage of H.R. 1365 as a bipartisan issue. And at this time, Mr. Chairman, I would like to seek unanimous consent to enter into the record a resolution passed by the 35th Guam Legislature, Resolution 36-35, endorsing the passage of H.R. 1365 without any objection. I would also like to enter into the record, Mr. Chairman, 4 letters from our Speaker of the Guam Legislature dated June 17th, also seeking support for H.R. 1365 without objections.
Order.
I would also like to enter the record, Mr. Chairman, a letter from the Republican Caucus of Guam dated June 18th, also supporting 1365.
Order.
And I would also like to seek unanimous consent, Mr. Chairman, for a letter dated June 6th from the Guam Republican National Committee also endorsing the passage of H.R. 1365.
So ordered.
I would like to go on to further thank the senior citizens of Guam that H.R. 1365 intends to remedy for their courage and sacrifice that has earned them the title of the greatest generation on Guam. And at this time, I'd like to enter into the record a Guam Pacific Daily News article dated May 7th, 2019 that features Mrs. Irene Scambaluri, a war survivor who shares her experience without objections.
So ordered.
I would like to thank the servicemen and their families who gave their lives many, many years ago to make days like today possible. And most of all, I would like to thank our Lord for His majesty that has ensured that a people literally on the edge of this country have never been forgotten by the greatest nation on earth. Mr. Chairman, that remembrance...
I totally gave Eric the wrong video. That was that was a whole other video. So I gave him the right second video, and we'll see that in a second. But the right video that I was supposed to send you, or that I was supposed to send Eric, was the congressman going head to head with Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell and saying that, hey, Federal Reserve, why aren't you extending the municipal liquidity fund to Guam and the territories when Congress clearly said in the authorization for this that the territories in Guam are included? And they went, Chairman Powell said it's because of an insolvency issue that they believe that the government of Guam has, and the congressman disagreed with him, and he got the chairman to say, you know what, we're gonna look back, we're gonna reconsider our decision, we're gonna look back and see what we can do. And so yesterday, Congresswoman Maxine Waters, who is the chairwoman of the House Financial Services Committee, which has oversight over the Federal Reserve, joined Congressman Siniclis in pushing Chairman Powell to do this. And so here's that video, or here's the congressman's latest video on that. I think it's the correct one.
While you have made some changes to broaden the municipal liquidity facility, many jurisdictions like the territories are still locked out. When we last spoke, you mentioned that it was difficult, but perhaps there was a way that Guam may be eligible. Did you find a way to take a serious look at that and determine whether or not something could happen?
Yes, we are taking a serious look at that. So the territories themselves are not investment grade rated, and they weren't before the pandemic set in, and that's the minimum standard for access to the municipal liquidity facility. Of course, businesses in the territories would be eligible for the Main Street facility. Some of the revenue-based facilities that that Guam has are investment grade rated, but below the minimum, and we're actually reviewing our credit standards in the municipal liquidity facility at the moment to determine if there's a way to adjust the facility in a way that would make eligible some creditworthy issuers without sort of violating the spirit or letter of Section 13.3.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, I want to first begin by thanking you and the committee for drafting this letter on behalf of the committee that we sent to Secretary Mnuchin and to you, Chairman Powell, dated May 13, 2020, particularly addressing the lack of territorial inclusion in the municipal liquidity facility that's being administered by the Fed. More specifically, we write, through the Coronavirus Aid, Relief, and Economic Securities Act, signed into law on March 27th, Congress instructed the Treasury Secretary to seek the establishment of a facility that would support the market for borrowing by state, municipal, and territorial governments. Despite the clear and unambiguous inclusion of territorial governments in these instructions, the Federal Reserve's Municipal Liquidity Facility, initially announced on April 9th, did not list territories among eligible issuers of debt. Furthermore, despite earlier requests to correct the original announcement, the Fed's subsequent announcement on April 27th significantly expanded the number of eligible issuers that the municipal liquidity facility would support, but continued to exclude territorial governments. Mr. Chairman, earlier in your dialogue with my colleague, Mr. Himes, I quoted you here saying that we're implementing the law that you passed. But the law that we passed in the CARES Act fully includes territories in the municipal liquidity facility, and yet the Fed is excluding territories from being able to access that facility. In response to our letter that we sent to you on May 13th, we got a response 2 days ago on June 15th from you. And the area that you address with respect to that concern, you state, and I quote, "As you know, we are required by law in our emergency lending to be well secured and to protect taxpayers from loss, and we are prohibited from lending to insolvent borrowers. The financial circumstances of the territories are generally inconsistent with these statutory constraints." Now, Mr. Chairman, notwithstanding Puerto Rico's circumstances, Guam is not insolvent. The Commonwealth of Northern Marianas are not insolvent. American Samoa is not insolvent, and the U.S. Virgin Islands are not insolvent. And so my question is, why are we excluding these territories from being able to access the municipal lending facility?
So as you pointed out, we are, what we put in our letter is really the way the law. We're required to conclude that we're adequately secured, and we have not been able to come to the view that any of the territories would be able to borrow from us, and that there are other government. I don't doubt the need for borrowing, but there are other programs which are better suited to serving the territory's needs.
But the CARES Act specifically authorizes territories to be able to access the municipal liquidity facility. It's very clear in the law, and the rationale for excluding them is not consistent with all of the territories. And I seriously doubt there's some kind of test being administered to every other jurisdiction in the country that's accessing the municipal liquidity facility. So I want to ask if there's going to be any reconsideration from the Fed given all of these facts.
All of the other, to be eligible for the municipal facility, borrowers are required to have an investment grade rating, and all of those who are eligible do have an investment grade rating. That's the requirement we set for the municipal loan facility.
The liquidity facility, though, Mr. Chairman, when we authorized it under the law, we did not set those kind of bars. And one of the reasons why the liquidity facility being accessible by the Fed is because when you have jurisdictions that are having more difficulty accessing capital markets, the reason why we provided those fundings is for the Fed to be able to provide that through the government.
I'm sorry that we disagree on this. I would just say that we're a provider of liquidity, and those are the judgments that we've made. We'll be happy to go back to the drawing board and look at it, but that's the judgment that we'd come to in terms of what Section 13.3 under the Federal Reserve Act requires of us.
Just to close, Madam Chair, because in the conversations today we talked about giving minorities more access and taking care of those communities. Our territories have upwards of 90% populations comprised of minorities. We talked about the need for supporting tourism industries. Our tourism industries in our territories are critically strained. We need to be able to access these resources that we're providing. Thank you, Madam Chair. I yield back.
Thank you very much.
Okay, Shelley, you ready? Stand by.
So it's really not every day that Guam's Congress, it's not even every year, as a matter of fact, it's hardly even every decade that the Congress, that the delegate from Guam is able to have an exchange like that at such a high level. And it's pretty unprecedented for the chairperson of a powerful standing committee of the House of Representatives to push Guam's agenda. Yeah, I understand Maxine Waters has a constituency of her own in California. And of course, she has pressures from her own party to do things one way or the other. The last thing that is ever on a powerful congressional leader's mind is the territories. And it's because, out of sight, out of mind. But our congressman has just made us that so much relevant to the national discussion and to the conscience of someone like Maxine Waters that she's willing to bat for us to the chairman of the Federal Reserve and basically tell him, hey, Congress said this, why aren't you doing it? Go and do it. And so, just more good news coming out of Congressman Michael San Nicolas. This past week, we brought you a story, I believe it was Sunday or Saturday, it was Sunday morning, where we published a story about a little adventure that Dr. Vince Akimoto and his son Kai Akimoto went on. What we didn't tell you was that Kandit was on the adventure too. And our very own Eric Rosario got to go with the Akimotos to the, I was going to say homeless shelter. The place, the Royal Palm Hotel, the one that was damaged during the 1993 earthquake, and then it was exploded, and the only thing that's left is the parking structure. And this is right across from San Vittori's Church in Tumon. So homeless people live there now. So I guess you can't call it an abandoned parking structure. Anyway, I always wondered what it looked like in there. You know, what was, and Eric got footage for us at night because he went with Dr. Akimoto undercover, right? He was acting...
Stealth.
Yeah. I don't know how he was stealth with his big camera, but...
and his big body.
He was acting like a medical assistant inside this parking structure at, what was it, 10 p.m. or 11 p.m.?
Yeah, maybe closer to 11 maybe.
Closer to 11 p.m. Saturday. While what Dr. Akimoto and Kai were trying to do was to find homeless people who had symptoms of the coronavirus. Upon belief that there is a woman who lives in Tumon who is homeless, who is the person who transmitted the coronavirus to the first airman who tested positive from that cluster in Anderson Air Force Base, which debunks the theory that this rotation of Air Force people brought the coronavirus to Guam. And the reason that that's significant is because if they didn't bring it from Guam, that means they got it from here. And if they got it from here and it's an unknown source, that means it's from community spread. What makes this worse is that the community spread came from the homeless community. And why that's worse is because as the Leon Guerrero administration was kicking the homeless people out of Paseo in, the open air environment where, they were in different areas of the Paseo de Susana, and then because they were kicked out from there, they were then going into abandoned structures and living in close quarters and close proximity to each other. The probability of the virus spreading was just that much greater. And so the Akimotos went to this one abandoned structure, and I believe they plan on going to a couple of other structures throughout in Tumon, where more homeless people live, and they may find this lady, and they may find others who have symptoms of coronavirus. Now, while they didn't find this woman that night, they were able to take temperatures and all that. Well, anyway, here's footage.
Before we get into that, can we also, I just want to put it out there also, Dr. Akimoto worked during the day, taking in patients who have symptoms, right, and doing his normal daily job. So right now, as we speak, there are millions of dollars sitting in Bank of Guam from the CARES Act to take care of these homeless people. They're supposed to have a shelter.
Yes.
Okay, so there's money sitting in there. For whatever reason, it has stopped. There was a story you put up, something about someone not being, it's not transparent and something.
Well, the Guam Homeless Coalition didn't like government of Guam's plans to place the home. They were going to retrofit Paseo Stadium, so inside the stadium, and they were going to have these tents. But the problem was that they were going to have 4 to 5 people inside single tents without regard for whether they were normally together.
Right.
So like a family of 4 to 5 people, that's okay because they're always together, right?
Right.
But 4 to 5 separate people, you put them together, I mean, why even have the facility? You're increasing the chance of the spread of the coronavirus. So
Right.
the Guam Homeless Coalition was like, no. We can't be a part of this if it's going to be like this. And we've told you guys in the government that this is a bad idea. This goes against the recommendations of the CDC.
So the next thing, what does the government do? Put up a board now. Did you read that?
No, I didn't see
There's a board now they're creating for this homeless thing. I'm pissed.
That's so stupid. They just
It is.
they
So I just
Gina
wanted-
Gina Call put something up. It was a memory that she shared just yesterday, and I think you commented on it or something, right? And it was about and really best practices in cities in the United States where they have all but ended homelessness. I mean, the best practice, and this is going to sound just so simple, and it's because it really is, the way to end homelessness is to put homeless people in homes. And it works in Utah. It works in Utah. And I remember it was like a model for the rest of the nation. And Democrats were going crazy because it was a Republican governor who was like, you know, I was right about to do a Southern accent, but Utah's not in the South.
So while all this money is sitting there, them making up boards to do whatever boards do, it bothers me.
And it bothers Kai Akimoto, Dr. Akimoto's son.
Yes.
So Dr. Akimoto is actually sort of like the wingman on this project. It's the son who is really into this. We got to do something about the homeless situation. And Dr. Akimoto, as a doctor, he's like, yeah, we got to do something about it because it could be that vector of the community in with this disease where it just becomes bad. You know, not just with the spread of it, but also with the need for hospitalization. Because normally when people are homeless, they're exposed to other sorts of diseases that reduce their immune system, you know, like hepatitis A, right?
Yeah.
And so Eric got a chance. I was really bummed that I didn't get to go because
I wasn't.
And I really wanted to go in there. I really wanted to talk to whoever, but they thought that I might be, that I might stand out. So Eric went with the Akimotos, and here's some footage from that night.
Nicely decorated. Bring the patrol cars. Hello, police. We just want to make sure you guys are okay. Hello, you guys okay? Guys, are you okay? Hello. We're just checking if you're okay. Are you okay? Sir, I got a doctor here. He just wants to check some of you guys if you guys are doing okay, okay? We have a doctor here to check on you guys, alright? Sir, I'm Dr. Akimoto from American Medical Center. We're just trying to check on everybody to make sure you don't have any coronavirus. We're worried about the coronavirus. I hope not. Are you coughing? No. Okay. Anybody who's listening, we're just checking on you guys because they said that there were some people from this area that got infected. And so they might have been spreading it around. I know. You're not it? Yes, sir. Yes, sir. But do you mind if I just check your temperature? I'm just going to check your temperature and make sure you don't have a fever. All right, sir. You guys try not to stay safe, okay? You just let everybody know if they're sick, they need to go to the clinic so that we can check to make sure. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Hello. Woo. Woo. Hello. Woo. Hey, sir, you guys okay? Hey, brother, we have a doctor. He just wants to check you guys if you guys are okay. There's a couple of people that were sick around. Is it okay to check you guys? It's a doctor. We tell people if they're sick, they're not in trouble, we need to make sure that they're controlled. Sir, I'm Dr. Akimoto. Nice to meet you. Sorry to bother you. Do you mind if I just check your temperature? Just let people know if you don't mind that we don't want anybody to get sick. We can do the testing. All right. And is there anybody else?
Testing
They did come and test you?
Yeah.
Does everyone have contact?
No. Where? Yeah, that was all of us.
Chris, but at least we got the word out and
as long as you give flyers, they'll probably pass it out to the people.
Thank you guys. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Looks like it's pretty well used.
Now, what was it like being up there, Eric?
You know, I mean, that was my first time in that. Well, actually, my second time in that structure. The last time I was there was maybe, I don't know, 15 years ago.
Was it different?
Yeah, you know, that night we went there, I guess we were hyped up because we were expecting, I was expecting loads of people to be up there in that parking structure. And when we first got there, we were walking around. The police were really, I mean, I got the sense that they were really polite, I guess is the word.
Okay, like
You
maybe
really
they knew
yeah.
the people there and they've been there before.
Yeah, you know,
Okay.
prior to us going there, they were one of the police officers, I forget his name, was briefing us saying that, you know, we're gonna go there, you know, 3 patrol cars deep, because you know you just don't know what to expect there.
Okay.
They get calls there all the time for whatever reason, and so, you know, my adrenaline was pumping, and I was like, you know, it's time for some action. And we got there, and it was no action.
Well, I think the action was in the scenery. This is the
Right.
first time I'm seeing that, and there was just a lot of stuff in there.
Yeah.
So there were piles of stuff. Is that stuff that people they're keeping, or is it just trash that they're putting in
You
a
know, a
certain
lot
area?
of it
Like what?
looked like personal belongings. You know, there was clothes, I don't know, and just a lot of personal belongings, but a lot of it was trash.
A lot of it was trash. Okay, but
Yeah.
there were mounds of personal belongings, sort of like they had a home recently and they had to move out. They didn't have
and
anywhere to
was
put
just,
it.
Yep, and it was just spread throughout that entire structure. So we got there. The police, the officers were just introducing Dr. Akimoto, and was saying that, you know, he's just there to check if anybody was sick, and that you know, they weren't there to cause any trouble with them. And so the doctor was going around saying, you know, if you know anybody that is sick, please let them know that my name is Dr. Akimoto. I run the American Medical Center, and if they're sick, either come to my clinic or go to the emergency room.
So if Dr. Akimoto had scanned someone with a fever, was he going to ask that person to go with him to the hospital or something?
You know, that they were discussing that night, and I didn't hear what they finally agreed upon, but
okay,
that was definitely a concern.
Were there any women there?
No, there was just there were 4 individuals in total, all male, and they were all sleeping when we got there. They were
Okay.
actually kind of surprised.
And that was around 11 p.m. And one of them said that, I think it was the last one that we saw there, right? One of them said that that public health had already
was
been there,
just there
the week before.
They tested all of them.
And they were looking for a person as well.
I believe so.
Yeah. Samantha Loskutov Tiako says, how is this homeless woman related to the airman story? How did they come into contact? Well, apparently the transmission, this is what officials believe, was sexually transmitted. Yeah.
I'm you know, watching this video. There's millions of dollars sitting in. It doesn't make sense to me, Troy.
Well, you know, what's his name? Celestine Babalta, who is the interim general manager of the Guam Regional Transit Authority. We FOIA'd the documents on this Operation Safe Haven, right? And one of the things that I noticed is in an email from Celestine Babalta to Tony Babalta and Tim Uggan, the Guam Homeland Security Advisor. He says, you know, my daughter lives in San Francisco, and they're housing the homeless in these quarantine hotels. We have quarantine hotels. Why don't we use these quarantine hotels? And
It's paid for.
It's paid for. He lists the pros you know, and he lists a couple of cons, but the pros clearly far outweighed the cons. And I mean, number one, it's paid for. At the Pacific Star Hotel, we were paying for 299 rooms, I think, and only like 40 of them are being used, including the penthouse, which was even off the record.
Well, maybe the people in that category they feel like they're dirty or whatever. But watching that video, I'm pretty sure that there was one man I saw there that looked like a lot cleaner than some of them houses. You know.
Yeah.
So, I really think that we need to get a handle on this before it gets out of hand, and it's already getting out of hand. There's families with children that are homeless, and we have the resources and the capability. There's so many buildings out there. Why tents? It's almost like this is good enough, you know? We gotta say something, we gotta do something about this.
Caritas S says, I feel that this is a fictional story meant to throw people off and create fear in the community. Really, what would a bunch of airmen be doing with homeless people? Well, so if the officials are correct, it was one airman, and sometimes you just don't know who is homeless. You'd be very much surprised. Most homeless people are not walking down the street. Some of them have cars, actually. And they're able to afford gas and go here and there. Some of them have jobs.
Right.
Yeah, they've got good jobs. They've just fallen on hard times. And they don't have a place to sleep that isn't one of these abandoned structures. And they'll be able to take a shower at a park or at a friend's house. And so they don't smell. They have clothes. Maybe they're renting a storage facility because that's all that they can afford. So, you know, maybe the airman didn't know that the woman was homeless. Maybe she was attractive, you know? Maybe she was dolled up or whatever. Or, you know, I mean, the possibilities are kind of...
Use your imagination.
They're there. All right, so that brings us to our top discussion today. Oh, Gina Call joins us. Gina, we were just talking about the homeless situation, and we were talking about how yesterday you put up a memory of yours from a post from 2 years ago offering a solution to the homeless situation, which was house the homeless. And it was an inexpensive solution that you brought up. Anyway, we're giving you kudos for that. The thing that we want to talk about now that is going to bleed into our main discussion tonight is...
Tonight,
tonight, is Governor Ralph Torres has gone fishing at the worst possible time. No, literally, he went fishing. I'm not kidding. So...
And people's overtimes needs to be signed so they can get paid.
So 2 weeks ago, has it been 2 weeks already? Maybe it's been a week and a half or something. Governor Ralph Torres and what amounted to be a contingent of about 100 people left Saipan by boat to go to the Northern Islands. They went with a
film crew?
What is his name? Derrickson is his name, I think. It's a popular YouTube blogger. And so, you know, of course the rationale... And it was to escort this YouTube blogger to do some blogging, and it really is to promote the Northern Mariana Islands. And I get that. That's probably a really good thing. The governor's thinking about the future of the Northern Marianas and tourism and all that stuff. That's fine, except a whole lot of resources were used for this. And the governor and many public officials from the Commonwealth left at what has to be the worst possible time for them to have left. Meanwhile, Lieutenant Governor Arnold Palacios, who is back at home, is making up all kinds of excuses, and some of them are not jiving up well with reality and truth for what's been happening in the Commonwealth government. It's either that the Lieutenant Governor is getting bad information from his people, or the Lieutenant Governor is involved in lying, the lying that's been going on in the Commonwealth. We'll have some footage about what's been going on that's been sent to us from our brothers and sisters in the North. But what we want to bring you now is Congressman Ed Probst to talk to us about his thoughts on the governor's excursion to the Northern Islands. But first, on his thoughts on a proposal by a legislator in the CNMI legislature to tax pandemic unemployment assistance is
Local tax.
local tax, yeah. And let's talk to the congressman now. Oh, Robert Arrington is his name. I said Derrickson, right?
Do I have my sweater? Where's my sweater?
Gina Call says some men like it freaky like that. Debbie Canada
And
says
some women too.
Debbie Canada says different strokes for different folks. Eh? Oh, you know what? I called 20 minutes too late. I told him we're gonna call him at 12 o'clock. All right. Anyway, we'll have a conversation, or we'll bring you Congressman Ed Probst when we go live tonight. We just wanted to sort of broach the subject of this, of Governor Ralph Torres spending so much time and government resources on a little vacation that he took with a contingent of about 100 people to the Northern Islands
That's
while
been
his
hot
people are
in
suffering.
Saipan, this whole weekend, this past
Yeah,
weekend, it's
yeah.
been super hot.
And I just wanted our viewers from the Northern Mariana Islands to know we're not avoiding the subject. We're just waiting for the right time, and we believe that tonight is the right time. So, good morning, good day, everyone. We'll see you tonight sometime around 7 p.m. for Kandit. This morning, I'm Troy Torres.
And I'm Johnny Rosario.
Bye.